They did it. The Eagles are headed to the Super Bowl after one of the biggest beatdowns and historical performances in a conference championship game ever, as the Birds dominated in every facet of the game. Although what is it that just completely shifted the narrative for everyone else? Plus the latest on injury updates on Jurgens and Landon Dickerson, as well as could we see Brandon Graham make a return? Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts silenced the critics and Kellen Moore was in his bag against the Commanders. However, now he's interviewing with the Saints ahead of New Orleans and it's leaving a bad taste in everyone's mouth. So let's talk about how big of an effect that could have, why Philly is Super Bowl ready, and everything else you may have missed from the Sunday Evening Massacre. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? Can you believe it? We are headed to the Super Bowl. Thanks to the Eagles absolutely boat racing the Commanders and dropping 55 points on them after they were talking all that smack.
The beautiful thing is I got to go through Philly. And I remember, after we lost to Washington, some of those guys were looking at us and saying that we're going to see you again, and here we are.
I love playing. I love playing on the road. And I love playing here too, but there's not a better feeling, and Detroit had a great crowd, but to walk out of that place and it's quiet. That's the best feeling in the world, to go into somebody else's house and it's quiet. So if it's at home, if it's on the road, it doesn't matter. We're going to get down the way we get down.
Saquon, touchdown. Barkley, touchdown. Hurts gets a shove. Hurts in. Hurts to throw. Near side, lets her rip. Brown, delay. Hurts in. Touchdown. They're going to go, and Hurts is in. Barkley outside. Barkley touchdown.
Here in Philly with what they've seen.
I mean, when you think about the fact that the 55 points was the most points Philly scored in a game since the Monday Night Massacre in 2010, which also happened to be against Washington, that really puts it into perspective. Yeah, come on, what the Birds did on Sunday wasn't supposed to happen according to all the expert analysts. Remember, the talk was how the Eagles' offense was sluggish and shaky, and then the defense having to stop the hottest team in the NFL with Jayden Daniels. But yeah, I'd say 8 touchdowns en route to the most points by any team in a championship game and the second most points scored by Philly ever in the playoffs shut up quite a few doubters. By the way, for those keeping track out there, Kellen Moore's offense rushed for more touchdowns, 7, than the Dallas Cowboys had all season. FYI, they had 6.
I want our fans to know that I can manage really good. I do real well managing. I know that bank account's full, that doesn't mean you got money. It just means you hadn't paid your bills due 60 days from now.
Delusional.
A team like Philadelphia, you certainly look at the way they're doing it, where they went out and, did some things with some veteran players. You have to take a look at that.
How unexpected is this for this team that you own to go to the Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans?
Well, it's kind of expected, I think.
Oh, okay, good.
You know
expected.
Yeah.
That was without a doubt the best sporting event that I've ever attended in my life. But the crazy part is that the Eagles ended up dropping a 50 bomb, yet they still took their foot off the gas. I mean, they could have gone for 60. Of course, if you look back earlier in the week, I guess we shouldn't be surprised. I mean, let's not forget, as hard as it is to believe, Washington was practicing like they played, as they blared Fly Eagles Fly during their practice sessions to prep for the NFC Championship game. And man, if they didn't know the song by heart before the game, they sure do now after the Birds scored 8 times and we got to hear that song nonstop, which naturally turned into an absolute nightmare for the Commanders.
Not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7.
Look, I mentioned it last week, but that's got to be one of the stupidest ways to prepare for a game. Again, that song gets played when the Eagles score a touchdown, so you practice like you play, and I guess, they're just preparing to score touchdowns, so quite frankly, they got what they deserved. I mean, fine, good for them making it this far with a rookie quarterback and a team that hadn't lost in 2 months. Heck, knocking off the Tampa Bay Bucks on the road and then going to Detroit and blowing them out in their house is a huge accomplishment. Yet in all honesty, I think you could tell that this was a team that felt like they'd arrived. Now, I won't lie, I got a little bit anxious on the opening drive after they went 18 plays while taking up 7 minutes. However, to hold the Commies to just a field goal felt like a big win. And let's just say that if there was any anxiety at that point, that all left as soon as Saquon Barkley got his first handoff of the game.
We wanted to send a message, and we did that. We had a great play call. Big block by AJ. Dallas. Who else is on that side? I believe Jordan. And got one-on-one, made it got missing. That's where you start a championship game.
I didn't even know he did all that the first play. I ended up taking out like 3 people on the first play of the game. And I was just like literally laying on my back because I hit my head. And I was trying to make sure I was okay. and I just heard the crowd cheering, and, you know, he definitely set the tone. I think that play came out and told those guys, you know, it's going to be a long day.
They don't give me a vote for MVP, but I know who my vote would. That's probably why they don't give me a vote, because I would vote for Saquon.
All right, yes, I'm biased, and Saquon's not going to win the MVP award, but he definitely should at this point. I know, the voting has already ended, but seriously, he's like transcended the RB position and skyrocketed their value this season. So if he doesn't win it this year, I don't know of another non-quarterback who's ever going to win it. Oh, by the way, I know he didn't end up getting Eric Dickerson's single-season record during the regular season, but Saquon is only 30 yards away from breaking Terrell Davis's record of most yards in a season when counting the regular season and postseason together. Of course, yeah, that's thanks to some of the most ridiculous runs you'll ever see. Yet he's actually already got a few records, like the most 60-plus yard runs in a season in NFL history. And when it comes to what he's doing in the playoffs, his performance Sunday was so good that it got the Empire State Building to light up Kelly Green with envy. Or maybe that was nauseousness thinking about what the Giants let go in Saquon. It still blows my mind, and I'm not sure I'll ever get over it, but Joe Shane actually sat there and said, nah, this dude's not really a difference maker. I'm going to go ahead and bet on Daniel Jones.
I've made some mistakes lately. Terrible mistakes.
So that's why I came here. You know, it's one of the first conversations I had with Howie. That's a conversation I had with my family. And like I said last week, came to Philly to be a part of games like this. And nothing better than a game where you can advance to the Super Bowl.
That's true, the job is not finished, but we got to celebrate the fact that we are going to a Super Bowl. And remember, like I said on my last video, if we made the Super Bowl, I'd give away a signed Saquon Barkley helmet. So here's what I need you to do. Make sure to hit that like button, and then after hitting the like button, go down to the comments section and let me know what was your favorite part of the NFC Championship game. Where then I'm going to select one lucky subscriber during my live stream to win the helmet via the randomized spinner. As always, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and be on the lookout for scammers. I will never ask you to pay for anything, and I'll be messaging you with a customized personal message with the custom emoji so that you know it's me. Okay, while you're answering that one in the comments, I'll just go ahead and let you know what absolutely you guys know was my favorite moment. And that was seeing Nolan Smith get the sack early in the fourth quarter and pretty much put a nail in the coffin.
Get there, Nolan! Get there, Nolan!
I'm telling you, the link was just lit and rocking, but I'll get to Nolan Smith and the defense and everything else in a second. Now, I don't blame you at all if you say the ground game was your favorite aspect from Sunday, especially since no team had ever had more than 5 rushing touchdowns in a conference championship. That is until Philly just blew that out of the water with 7 rushing touchdowns. It's kind of a given, but I don't know how long it'll be until we see someone break these records. So I think personally, for me, I'm going to refer to this game as the Sunday Evening Massacre. And even though there's been constant and consistent haters or doubters about can the Birds do this, or what if they get in a different situation, can they win this way, it feels like they put a lot of people in their place and definitely on notice to realize how dominant they can be.
7 rushing touchdowns. The tush-push, whereas the Bills couldn't convert them, and we've seen other teams fail trying to do it. It might be just a Philly thing. It might be because of the offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland. It might be because of the way that Jalen Hurts' body is built. It might be just because they practice it so darn much. 7 rushing touchdowns in an NFC Championship game. The most ever in a championship game round was 5. They added 2 more after the fact, with one of them being from Will Shipley, who is their backup's backup in the running backs room, who everyone was so excited for to see get it, the rookie out of Clemson. Complete domination, and if you're Kansas City and you think you're going to cakewalk to that 3rd Super Bowl win, you're going to be watching game tape, and you're going to be seeing a team that can bully you, a team that's probably a little bit more physical in the ground game, and a team that has absolutely no fear piling it on. Philadelphia was very impressive yesterday. They saved their best offensive game for the most important one.
Can you complete the passes when the defenses are going to play in those one-on-one situations? Jalen Hurts did that.
Yep.
A.J. Brown did that.
If you are still critical of Jalen Hurts, then what are you doing? I said what Albert Einstein said. You judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. It'll live its whole life believing it's stupid. People are judging Jalen Hurts by things other than winning, and that's why everybody has become stupid in that sense. Imagine standing at a pond looking at fishes and saying, climb! Climb already. That's what we look like when we tell Jalen Hurts, throw for 5 touchdowns already. Because Jalen Hurts don't do that. He wins. And he already told you. He only cares about winning.
That right there. That is what we've been saying for months, yet the criticism and people being in denial just hasn't stopped. And honestly, even though the Eagles did get some credit, I saw some people throwing out the fact that the Commanders' defensive tackle, Deron Payne, wasn't able to play, and that was the biggest difference in being able to not stop the run. And okay, him not being out there was sure, it made an impact, but let's not forget, Philly was in the same boat, if not honestly worse. After all, their starting center in Cam Jurgens was out with a back injury, meaning left guard Landon Dickerson had to slide over and then Tyler Steen filled in for Dickerson. Now, obviously, they did a good job in different roles, but the most impressive part to me was seeing when Landon had to leave the game with his knee injury that Jurgens gutted it back out and came back out to play in the second half. And yeah, you can tell exactly what it meant to him.
So proud of this team. Just want to say thanks to the trainers, Joe, Tom. It was a long week.
Yeah, I feel your emotions, Cam. What happened this week? We were all shocked by the back injury. When did it pop up for you? How did you work through it?
It's just, it's football, it's violence, so just fighting. And this team's got so much fight. I love it. We're going to win this next one.
Hey, way to fight for us. Hey, seriously, I appreciate you. Way to fight for us.
That was gritty. That was gritty of him. He hadn't practiced all week, really pushing through, and the resilience he showed coming in and being able to see the defense the way he was. Loved how he prepared. Obviously, the preparation showed, and man, he's been great all year. I won't have that reflective moment on myself, but I'll have that reflective moment on Cam and saying, yeah, you got one bad snap to start the season off, and all the questioning and all the things that were thrown his way, and so end up being a Pro Bowler and having all the things to deal with. We're replacing Jason Kelce. He's done a great job. We'll need him to do that again this upcoming week.
By the way, you can tell from the video that it was pretty evident at how bad his back was and what he pushed through, but several reporters afterwards said Cam was in so much pain afterward that he was hunched over his chair by his locker and clearly favoring his back. So again, credit to him for just pushing through that, but also there is good news when it comes to those injuries, because Adam Schefter reported that both Jurgens and Landon Dickerson should be good to play with the Super Bowl 2 weeks away. And for the record, both players did say they should be fine. Plus, the more positive part is that the extended break between now and the Super Bowl is just that. They've got extra time to get right, which could be enough to get Brandon Graham back on the field. Now, the first step, as you probably already know, is that BG has to come off of IR. That has obviously not happened yet, but go ahead and hit that subscribe button because as soon as it does, we'll be sure to be going live and keep you posted. Also, even BG said he doesn't know and is taking it one day at a time. Yet how sweet would it be to get him back for the unfinished business in that last game?
We'll see how that goes and how that plays out. I can't answer that question right now, but we'll see how the week works out and the 2 weeks work out.
Is it fair to say you don't currently know if you will play, that it could go either way? Is that a fair way to put it?
That's a fair way to put it. That's all it is. And so I'm just being patient, seeing what's really going on. But I know for me, man, regardless, I'm excited just to be going to help the guys, man. Whatever my role is in this game.
Guys, awesome job. It came down to everything we talked about. Toughness, mental toughness, physical toughness, detail. Again, way to take care of it, way to come after it. We've been relentless with that. That's going to be the key next week too. I promise you that. Right? And then together, right? It took everybody. It took everybody. And really, that's what it's been like the whole time. Right? And it took everybody. Awesome job defense, awesome job offense, way to make plays, special teams. It was awesome. Not a lot much more to say. We got some unfinished business to handle.
You already know how we want it. You already know how we want it.
We're going to enjoy this. This is special. We've done a lot of specials like we talked about. But one more step, right? One more step.
There we go. One more game. One more game, and this team will have done it. And let's be honest, they have all the pieces to make this thing happen. Plus, this time, the Eagles are a much better defense, they have a more balanced offensive attack, and it's just a unit that clearly plays for each other and sacrifices the individual stats for the good of the team. I mean, no offense to BG, and he would definitely help if he were able to make it back by the Super Bowl, but at the same time, what the Eagles are doing on the edge position right now is absolutely remarkable, especially when you look at the future in Nolan Smith and Jalyx Hunt. Like, think about this. Nolan has 10.5 sacks over his last 15 games. Yet all he's done is elevate that play in the playoffs, with the 23-year-old registering 16 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, and 1 forced fumble in just 3 games this postseason. Which, in case you didn't know by now, is 1, the most sacks by an Eagles player in a single postseason in franchise history, and 2, the second most career playoff sacks by an Eagles player ever. FYI, BG has 5.5 as the clubhouse leader, but here Nolan is at just 23 years old and already has 4.5 career postseason sacks. So yeah, even more of a reason why I was freaking out whenever he got that late sack on Jayden Daniels. And then who didn't love his emotion afterward in the postgame?
Grit.
Man, we talk about, man, if they don't score, they don't win. And, you know, they put up some points, but, man, we go out there and play defense with pride, man. And that's what I love about Philly. And it's just like the city that we live in, man. We play defense tough and hard nose.
I've said this a million times, but just another reminder, the scary part is that rushing the passer might not be the best part of Nolan's game. Plus, you also got Jalyx Hunt showing out too, with Big Pimpin playing a huge role with 5 tackles and being a force in the run game and passing game. Also, credit to Fangio because with a mobile quarterback like Jayden Daniels, it absolutely paid off to have versatile guys with tons of athleticism like Nolan and Jalyx on the edges. Heck, both guys ended up playing more snaps than Josh Sweat, and not that he was bad, but I think you're seeing what the future looks like on the edge, and it's pretty sweet. Of course, we could just run down the list of basically every player on the defense. You know, like Q absolutely locking down Scary Terry, because when Q was matched up with Terry McLaurin, he allowed 1 catch for 7 yards with 1 interception on 3 targets. So yeah, I think it's safe to say he won round 3 of that battle, but also one other guy, how about Jordan Davis? I'm telling you, his difference was noticeable on nearly every snap. Granted, he only played 13, but when he did go in, he was 100% effort and full speed every time. And then obviously, we got to mention Zack Baun, because the dude is the first player with 10-plus tackles, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery in the conference championship game or the Super Bowl since Peanut Tillman in 2006, which makes it that much cooler for him to have had a peanut punch in the game that got one of the takeaways started. I mean, it did feel like the second possession fumble is whenever Washington started to crack. Now, I've also got to give a shout out to Oren Burks because seriously, number 42 since Nakobe Dean has gone down has been incredible. With Burks finishing the NFC Championship game with 9 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 quarterback hit, a sack, and 1 forced fumble that probably put Washington's final hopes to rest in the 3rd quarter. And look, when you think about it, the team's knack for being able to create takeaways is the absolute difference maker for this defense. Like they now have 10 takeaways and 0 turnovers with 4 more on Sunday. But what the most crucial element was is that the Eagles scored touchdowns on all 4 takeaways. And that is complimentary football. I mean, come on, that is the big difference right there. Remember, Philly lost to Washington. Everyone's going, oh my gosh, you had 5 takeaways, but they still got beat. Kenny Pickett was playing. He played okay. He played well enough for you to win, but you just weren't capitalizing on those takeaways. Here you have Jalen Hurts, 4 turnovers, and all 4 times lead the team down, get a touchdown. Also, in case you didn't know, only 8 teams have ever been plus 10 in takeaways throughout the postseason. And the last one to do that hasn't happened since 2004 with the Patriots. I know, not a great year, but it just goes to show how ridiculous the Eagles have been at taking the football while also taking care of it. And again, the first place that praise starts with in that area is Jalen Hurts.
How about our quarterback?
How about your quarterback?
How about our quarterback?
How about your quarterback?
He's a stud.
He is a stud.
I knew he was going to play that way. I knew it. Don't doubt him. All he does is win.
He's done a great job. He's done a great job. I guess he let me on my straitjacket a little bit today.
Thank you. They finally opened up the playbook, let Jalen Hurts do what he does, and, beat a team from the pocket, unlike some commentators thought that he couldn't. Which shout out to Anthony DeBono for the numbers here, but Jalen was just about perfect when throwing from the pocket, as QB1 was 18 for 20 for 216 yards and 1 touchdown in that area. In fact, the offense was so dominant and Jalen did so well that it had the ringer saying the Eagles' offense finally looked Super Bowl ready. Thanks to Hurts anticipating the one-on-one matchups and continually connecting with A.J. Brown, also attacking zone coverage with big completions to Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, and then as soon as Washington went to single coverage, Jalen knew where his opportunity was. However, for all those people saying Jalen's just a lucky Justin Fields to have all the weapons around him, let's talk facts. Fields would be lucky to ever throw such a great one-on-one ball. I mean, seriously, anytime there's an opportunity, it's like QB1 can put it exactly where it needs to be. And again, I'll be honest, sitting there and watching that game, there were several times that I was like, whose offense is that? We have not seen moments. I mean, you got Dallas Goedert on a tight end sweep there. Same thing for Smitty. The offense is clicking, fast reads, moving the football. It was ridiculous. And then I also made this comment, which, I got some back and forth on this one. But remember, Kellen Moore interviewed right before the Rams game, right? So we saw a big difference there. He did not have any interviews for this one. And again, you take some time away, you get a little bit of rest, you can prepare, clear your mind. It's a huge difference maker. I don't know, am I crazy? Do you buy into that? I feel like it's a big deal, and there's a reason we saw a completely different offense in this one. Like I said, it was pretty evident that Kellen was in his bag against the Commanders. And I also especially liked how involved he got Dallas Goedert, and when it comes to beating the Chiefs, I think we're going to need a lot more of that. Now, while that is all fine and well, here's the interesting kicker that comes into play. Kellen Moore is back to his interviewing, since the New Orleans Saints are still scrambling to hire a new head coach and actually flew up to Philly last night to do an in-person interview. Which on one hand, I hate, and I still think that teams should not be allowed to interview coaches unless their team is done and out of the postseason, but, we'll never fix that, I guess. But seeing how quickly New Orleans was eager to get this second interview done, it does make you feel that they're trying to get something done with Kellen. But on the flip side, and to try to put your mind at ease, the Super Bowl is 2 weeks away, so it's not like it's on the same week like he's had some of these other interviews, so I'm not as concerned about it. Although sure, it's a fair argument to make that if he knows he's getting the job, then maybe he'll get distracted or be distracted thinking about plans as a head coach like Jonathan Gannon was. But how are you guys feeling on this one? Like I said, the last one bothered me more. Still not a fan of it, but I don't think it's a massive deal. By the way, the biggest negative for me is more so that if he were to get hired, it's just more turnover for Jalen to deal with. And that most likely means Jalen's QB coach and Doug Nussmeier also leaves to coach with Kellen. Anyway, that is a problem for another day because the Birds are in the Super Bowl. And I'm not going to go through the full recap, but I do have to bring up the sequence and the absolute troll job Philly did early in the fourth quarter, where Frankie Louvu and the Commanders were called for encroachment 3 times before the official said something I didn't know was possible.
Washington has been advised that at some point the referee can award a score if this type of behavior happens again. For now, it's a replay of second down.
I'll be honest, I've never heard of that in my life, but when the official came out and said award a score to the other team, it's like, okay, well, the Commanders have no chance at that point because they're going to either give a score that way or now they're back on their heels and automatic touchdown is what we saw. And that just lit up the link even more at that point because the score made it 41-23 and it felt like the Birds were just clowning them by that point. But come on, who didn't love seeing Saquon Barkley celebrating Will Shipley's first career touchdown? And like I say, there's really nothing like a party at the link.
Let's go! Go Bills!
I will say it was a blast getting to check out the Eagles drone show beforehand on Saturday, as well as catching a glimpse of the Commies fans who took over the Hard Rock the night before, exiting the game and, ended up getting the wrong end of the deal. And then let's just say the footage of the NFC Championship celebration was hype. Shout out to Justin, even if they had to rush and get everything closed up a lot quicker because of the AFC Championship game. Now, the wildest and craziest part, understandably, probably not a surprise, was seeing Broad Street afterward. Like, words can't really describe the type of atmosphere that was, even though I'll admit we didn't really get over there until it had died down at least a little bit. Also, shout out to my guy Joey in the Reading Market, and Chance, who we ran into at breakfast, as well as getting a cheesesteak, also Steve at the Pro Shop, Heidi at the Liberty Bell, and of course, Mike and Lamb and Telly the Bird at the tailgate scene. Like I said, that is a trip and a game that I will never forget, so it was pretty dope to get to have my dad and brothers join me and Thomas for their first ever game in Philly. But as great as that was, the journey is not over. One more game, so do me a favor, hit a like button if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and let me hear your takeaways from the game. I'm going to be hanging out in the chat. Until next time, this has been the Philly Special.